This was supposed to be the headline for this season. Instead, it was looking like the funeral of Go Ahead Eagles. The Johan Cruyff Shell versus Feyenoord seemed like a good omen, as despite going into penalties, the team won. But here lies the problem. The guy who scored was the only signing made. Just 8.7 million was given, and with the sole sale of Fitzium for 6.5 million, Jonas Kjermgaard of FC Copenhagen was transferred in. Another Danish player, but this guy, similarly to Palmer, was a stud. Regardless, the side was still looking the same as last year and had a bunch of matches in order to qualify for the Champions League. This isn't their first rodeo, but these extra games always tend to impact the start of the campaign. While things were taken easy in the Cercle Bruges tie, which helped Go Ahead win their season opener over Volendam, facing Sporting again was a pain.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
On the pitch, it was simple, but it required most of the starters to play, and that impacted the second Eredivisie match. In what looked like a sure victory, the team conceded a late equalizer by El Bozo. Okay, I renamed him that. It's not as if there were many bad results early on. Feyenoord, PSV, and Ajax were all drawn, while Valvik and Fortuna Sittard were defeated. However, something fell off, like some game was trying to haunt crewmen. Drawing is something I'm personally not good at, but crewman, he must have been the descendant of Hieronymus Bosch, as he drew against Celtic, RB Salzburg, Slavia Prague, Aston Villa, and Real Madrid. The last one was surprising, of course, but even more so than the previous encounter. Never forget camera 52 minutes. They spent years wanting to get revenge against the team with Eagles in their name, and it looked like it was going to happen. However, on a goal kick in the 93rd minute, Thibaut Courtois told his team to push up, and then decided to play it relatively short to Inacio. Never pass to Inacio. The home side took advantage, leading to Schalland scoring the equalizer. The team couldn't go undefeated with draws alone, so AC Milan was next. During an international break, where crewman's players did not return while most of Arteta's did? What the crap, UEFA?
Hey, stop this place!
You can guess how that went. The side did end up losing to Marseille and Newcastle as well, failing to qualify for even the playoff round with only 5 points. The loss to AC Milan was the first of the campaign, and another one followed to AZ Alkmaar. Did they deserve it? Absolutely not! But when you have Bumgard and Wendell hitting the post, while Ogaard's woodwork header goes in, what can you do? Despite the first loss in the Eredivisie, the side did go on and win the next 4 in a row, placing them just 6 points behind Feyenoord, despite the bumps so far. The following opponent was a rival that didn't get to be revealed last time out. On a fine morning, crewman was leading the practice. Okay, it was actually Naldo. Crewman was just sipping coffee in the office facing the pitches. Regardless, he did notice something above the training ground. A large balloon that was just out in the open. It was annoying crewman, so he went out and threw a rock at it. It bursted, landing on the ground. After picking up the rubble, it was clear the culprit was Zhang Ji, the Chinese man who became Utrecht manager last year after their promotion and tycoon takeover. They hired him from Guangzhou,
Guangdong Tigers. Ni hao! Ni hao!
a club he was at since 2010 and one he played for in 2023 at age 42. Crewman's dislike for him began when they tried to buy Mario Dorgelis, and the 3-3 from the previous campaign didn't help either. The first fixture between the two this season didn't have many chances, but the spying clearly worked for Utrecht as a terrible Danny Gomez strike ricocheted off De Bogen's noggin and went in. Thankfully, wins continued for the remainder of the calendar year, with Emmen getting destroyed by a variety of goals, while Cambuur witnessed a Bumgard hat-trick. Excelsior was a little more difficult, with Gustil scoring a lone goal. Feyenoord were still charging on, and with January arriving, disaster struck. Release clauses. And Go Ahead had several players with them. Unfortunately, one of them was activated, as the Brazilian center back Adamati had the future in his hands. Despite the reports saying he's a fairly inconsistent performer and doesn't enjoy big matches, he was the best performing defender last season and had very few moments of fraudulence. With his move to Chelsea delayed for work permit reasons, he, for some reason, was still training, and after a robust challenge, broke his foot. When he arrived at Stamford Bridge for his medical, he obviously failed it, as he couldn't walk. The good news was that the Brazilian wanted to stay and sign a new contract. In the meantime, I will continue not to talk about Pexvolle, as they absolutely stole this match. It was 1-0 late, with a lot of chances missed, but Angerer was able to equalize it. Then, in the 93rd minute, Go Ahead were chasing, but it was Volley on the ball, sending a pass to Angerer again, who stole the 3 points. That was the official halfway point of the season, and the 10-point deficit to Feyenoord worsened.
Pain and suffering are all you have to look forward to now.
In a span of a week, Vitesse were played twice for some reason, and Go Ahead lost both. Chroo was losing his mind, as he lost his cool at several journalists, storming out each time. So, with a disastrous January, Go Ahead were 16 points behind Feyenoord. A lot of football to be played, but this team was having a crisis. But the only improvement made in January was a loan at left back for Colin Vicky. He played alright, but it was an expensive loan. With no intriguing central defenders on the market, Chroo decided to adjust the formation for the remainder of the campaign. He moved one center back into midfield and decided to play a 4-1-2-2-1, which eventually changed to a 4-4-2 diamond. The changes helped with Volendam and FC Eindhoven being defeated. In the latter fixture, Wendell scored a hat-trick, and did so again against the Bozo Zhangji in the Dutch Cup. Utrecht were up again not long later in the league, where Chroo was super cocky. He was confident of upstaging aged FC Utrecht. Kenny Rocha Santos took that personally, scoring twice within 6 minutes, giving Go Ahead a 2-1 loss. In the post-match press conference, Chroo went berserk. Emotions were high, as this was following another loss in the league to NAC Breda, where goalkeeper Strikespire had been utter trash. So, he was sent to the reserves. Ulsen wasn't much better, but at least the club won the next 2 fixtures. The good news in all this pile of mediocrity was the club made the Dutch Cup semi-final, where they had to play Feyenoord.
Texting me saying, how am I feeling, mate? Yeah, how are you feeling? How are you feeling?
Feyenoord were having a ridiculous campaign. They were 14 points above second and 17 above Go Ahead. The amount of ins and outs throughout the years are too high to count. However, some key players for them were Thiago Thomas, who scored 22 in the league, Badr Ali Hassan from United Arab Emirates, who scored 19 and assisted 7, Dodo, who had 16 assists from right back, Nelson Carvalho scoring 12 and assisting 6, Ndika leading the back line, Johan Gonzalez being the midfield maestro, and of course, they still had Donny van de Beek. Chroo claimed to be a better manager than Glasner, which to be fair, may have been true, as the guy ditched Feyenoord for Atletico Madrid after Mourinho got sacked.
Sorry.
It's worth mentioning that Chroo got a job interview first, but that's besides the point. Glasner's replacement was looking like Labadia, and if you watch the Bundesliga, you'd know that would be a great appointment for the rest of the league. Sadly, Domenico Tedesco was revealed as the coach. He never lasts long at a club, but the initial season is usually pretty good. That's why they not only excelled in the Eredivisie, but the Champions League as well. Maybe not at first glance, as they barely advanced to the playoff round, but in that stage, they overcame a 3-0 deficit to Leipzig and won the second leg at home 4-0, in big part to Stefanović's hat-trick. In the round of 16 versus Aston Villa, they faced former coach Jan Dahl Tomasson. In the home tie, they obliterated them with a 3-0 triumph and survived the second leg, advancing to the quarters. Now, their fairy tale run ended as they lost to Bayern. Embarrassingly, they had a man advantage in the first leg for 80 minutes, but still lost. However, going back in time to March 6, 2030, Go Ahead had to visit them in order to keep some sort of respectability for their campaign. Of course, Boomgaard missed an early chance, but his strike partner... Come on, Wendell from Brazil! Boomgaard would continue not to score, but he could afford those misses, as the man from Brazil continued the Samba party by getting his second. Boomgaard would finally score, although he was offside. Nevertheless, Feyenoord were non-existent, as Wendell wouldn't get his hat-trick, but Joe Bellingham would get the team's third, and help the side advance to a third straight KMVB Becker final. Feyenoord can win the Eredivisie, but any sane person would rather win that Pinecone trophy rather than a damn shield. In the final, it unfortunately wouldn't be Twente, as they lost on pens to NAC Breda in the quarters. NAC Breda, whose aggregate score with Go Ahead this season was 3-3, would defeat Vitesse in the semis to advance to their first KMVB Becker final since 1974, where they lost 6-0. Their only triumph in this competition was the year prior, defeating NAC Nijmegen 2-0. Go Ahead, on the other hand, had an opportunity to be the first club since PSV in the 80s to win 3 consecutive Dutch Cups. With Wendell out and Goose still suffering another 6-month injury, the stage was set at the Kuip. NAC Breda lost their prior 4 matches, but won a penalty in the 8th minute. Reverson tucked it home, and the worst possible scenario was on its way. The fear went away quickly, as 12 minutes later, Boomgaard found his countryman Palmer Seeing him, dink the keeper. Boongard would continue to bottle it in a big game until the 57th minute, where Palmer found him with a beautiful pass, and Boongard found the back of the net. Palmer was having an insane performance, and was subbed off late to give him a standing ovation, and to appreciate Enwal Kali, who will be leaving the club after having a fantastic career here. Nakrada couldn't muster up anything else, as Go Ahead went on and won their 3rd straight KMVB Becker. You can call Crewman a cup merchant, but at least he's winning something. That would guarantee Europa League football, which was crucial since the Eredivisie campaign was crap. Some notable moments came in the remaining bits of the season, such as defeating Ajax and Wendell scoring 5 against PSV. Yet, it was a disastrous year, seeing Go Ahead finish in 6th. So bad. And while it was supposed to be the last campaign, I can't have it end like this. So Crewman will go again. And if you want to experience it live, we'll be streaming it on Twitch at these times. Will Go Ahead finally win the Eredivisie, or will the pain continue?